On the evening of the 30th of October, 1938, an American radio network broadcast a drama about an invasion from Mars. It was told in the form of news bulletins, interrupting what sounded like an ordinary music program. And the story goes that listeners believed it, that across the country, people ran into the streets, loaded their cars, grabbed weapons, called the police in their thousands, and that a nation was gripped by mass hysteria for one night because of a radio play. It is one of the most repeated stories in the history of mass media. It appears in textbooks. It gets cited whenever a new technology arrives and somebody wants to argue that the public cannot be trusted with it. And it is, in almost every important respect, not true, not exaggerated, not overstated, largely invented by newspaper within about 24 hours for reasons that are not difficult to work out. So let's do this properly, because the real story is a better one. Start with the broadcast itself, because that part is real. The program was an adaptation of a novel published 40 years earlier about a Martian invasion of England. The production moved it to the present day and to New Jersey. And the creative decision that made it famous was the format. Instead of narrating a story, the first half was written as a series of interruptions, a dance band playing, then a bulletin about strange explosions on Mars, back to the band, then a bulletin about an object landing, then a reporter on the scene, describing something climbing out of a cylinder. It is genuinely well made. The pacing is excellent. The performances are convincing. And there is a long stretch where the fictional broadcast appears to break down entirely, which is a very effective way of suggesting that something has gone wrong. There were announcements identifying it as fiction, one at the beginning, one at the midpoint, and two at the end. But if you tuned in late, which people did, because the most popular show in America was on another network and had a musical break partway through, you could arrive in the middle of what sounded like a genuine emergency. So did anyone believe it? Yes, some people did, and it is worth being precise about who and how many, because the precision is the whole point. The audience for the program was small. It was competing against the most popular show on American radio. Ratings estimates put its listenership at a few percent of the available audience. Of those, surveys taken afterwards suggest that a minority thought it was news rather than drama. And of that minority, a significant number did not think it was Martians. They thought they were hearing coverage of a German attack, which, in October 1938, 1 month after the Munich crisis, was a much more available fear than an invasion from space. Some people did become frightened. Some phoned relatives. Some phoned their local station or the police to ask what was happening, which is a reasonable thing to do and is not hysteria. What did not happen was mass panic. There is no evidence of crowds in the streets, no evidence of highways clogged with fleeing families, no documented deaths, no documented injuries. The hospitals did not report a surge of shock cases. The traffic data does not show anything unusual. If a substantial fraction of a country had physically fled its homes on a Sunday evening, that would leave traces. It did not leave traces because it did not happen. So, where did the story come from? The newspapers. The following morning, the American press ran the panic across its front pages in large numbers with dramatic detail. And here is the thing that explains it. In 1938, newspapers and radio were direct commercial rivals. Radio had spent the previous decade taking advertising revenue that had previously gone to print. It was faster. It reached people at home. It carried news before the paper arrived. The press had been running a sustained argument that radio was unreliable, irresponsible, and unfit to be trusted with serious information. And then radio handed them a perfect illustration. The coverage was not neutral. It was an industry making a case against a competitor. An editorial in one major paper argued explicitly that radio was a new and untested medium and needed regulation. That is the argument. The panic was the evidence assembled to support it, and the evidence was thin. A great deal of the reporting consists of anecdotes without names, incidents without locations, and numbers without any source. Later researchers went looking for the documented cases. They found scattered instances of genuine fright, which is real and worth acknowledging. They did not find the mass event. There is one more layer, and it is the reason the story has proved so difficult to kill. The people involved in the broadcast had no reason to correct it. A young director who had just been accused of terrifying a nation with the power of his own storytelling did not push back very hard. It made him famous. It made his career. And the network, after some initial alarm, found itself in possession of proof that radio was extraordinarily powerful, which is exactly what it needed to tell advertisers. So the newspaper had a commercial reason to invent the panic, and radio had a commercial reason to let the story stand. Nobody in the room was motivated to say that not very much had actually happened. There was one more consequence, and it is genuinely important. The event became one of the first major subjects of academic mass communication research. A study was published a couple of years later based on interviews with listeners. That study is often cited as evidence for the panic, which is a little unfair to it, because what it actually did was ask why some people believed it, and most people did not. And the answer it found is the interesting part. The people most likely to be taken in were not the least intelligent. They were the people with the fewest ways to check. Listeners who turned the dial and heard normal programming elsewhere worked it out immediately. Listeners who looked out of the window worked it out. Listeners who had a newspaper with the radio listings worked it out. The variable was not gullibility. It was access to a second source. And that finding has held up remarkably well for 80 years, across a great many subsequent panics about a great many subsequent technologies. So here is why this story matters more than it looks. Every time a new medium arrives, somebody produces this broadcast as proof that ordinary people cannot handle it. It was used against radio. It has been used against television, against comics, against video games, and against the internet. And the case study at the bottom of that argument is an event that was largely manufactured by a rival industry with a direct financial interest in the conclusion. The panic story is not evidence that people are gullible. It is evidence that people are gullible about the specific claim that people are gullible, which is a much more useful thing to know. The broadcast is still available. You can listen to the whole thing. It is about an hour long, and it is very good. And the most striking thing about it is how completely ordinary the audience reaction was. Most people who heard it enjoyed a radio play, went to bed, and got up the next morning to read that they had lost their minds.